What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norin Radd89 here, bringing you another video. For today's video, we're going to be talking about The Exorcist Believer. Yes, we're finishing off the Exorcist review series. This is actually the first time that I've watched this film since I saw it in the theaters, so I'll have a card in the top corner so you can go check out my first ever review, because I did review this when I did go see this in the theaters 2 years ago with my wife. So go check out that review first to see my old thoughts, and then, like I said, come back to finish this video to check out how I feel now, currently, unfiltered thoughts and everything. And of course, because it's years later, we are going to be talking spoilers and everything, so be warned. So let's get into this review. Roll it. The Exorcist Believer follows two young girls, Catherine and Angela, who end up leaving school one day together, going into the woods, and they end up playing games they really shouldn't be playing and calling on to the other side, talking to spirits, really stuff that you just, you want to stay away from and everything, and they end up being missing for 3 days. The parents are freaking out. There's people looking for them. The whole town is looking for them. Then they find them. They show up again. They are rescued, and then all of a sudden weird stuff starts to happen, and we find out that the two girls are possessed. So yes, this is the long-awaited kind of sequel, or kind of legendary, what is it? I don't know what they call these ones, those sequels that are just like canon to the first film. It doesn't really acknowledge Exorcist 3 or Exorcist 2 Heretic or anything like this. This is a legacy sequel to the first Exorcist film, and we have returning characters, of course. We have Ellen Burstyn in here, who comes back as Chris. So yes, there's a lot of stuff in this film that we got to talk about. It's directed by David Gordon Green, and let's get some of the positives out of the way first before we start talking about negatives and mixed and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I want to talk about is our two leads, the girls. I think they do a fantastic job. I really don't have any problems with their performances, and even the makeup. I think the makeup is outstanding as well. I believe this is the same makeup effects team that David Gordon Green had for Halloween Kills, so it stands out. You can really tell. I love the practical effects in here, so there's nothing wrong with that. Also, the cinematography. This film looks really good. It's shot well, and there's really good camera work. So that's one thing you can't knock this film for. There's a lot of good positives right there that I'm talking about on a technical level in terms of practical effects, the way the film looks, and our acting from two young actresses that, like I said, it's hard to find younger children that are capable of carrying a film, and I think they do really well with the stuff that they're given. But that also does lead kind of into our mixed and negatives, is that really this film is one of those films that no one really asked for. First of all, in terms of fans, even fans, non-fans of the Exorcist franchise, no one really asked for this film. One other thing we got to talk about too is that kind of with the marketing of this movie, I think that affected it a little bit, is that when this film came out, it was already greenlit that we were going to be getting a trilogy, and coming to the fact that it was David Gordon Green at the helm of the trilogy at the time when this film came out, and he wasn't well received after what he did with the Halloween franchise. So there was a lot of things going against this film that I think kind of weigh this film down, that you can't really, you can hold against the film, but you can't at the same time, you know what I mean? It's David Gordon Green's view, it's his vision, this first film, so you can hold that against him. But in terms of the reception from the audiences because of what they had from Halloween and their feelings on the Halloween franchise and what he did, it's hard to, hold that against the film, but it did affect the movie. I could tell you that for sure. Another negative that I want to talk about is that this film has a lot of nostalgia bait when it comes to having, like, Chris come back, Ellen Burstyn's character, who I feel is basically useless in this film. I don't think there's anything wrong with her acting or her performance. It's just one of those characters that you could have easily plucked out of the film and it would have been fine. I think this film could have held on its own without going back to Linda Blair and, Ellen Burstyn's character. I don't think we had to bring Reagan and Chris into it. You could have mentioned it, talked about that first film, showed newspaper clippings, all that jazz, whatever you want to do, but bringing them in, I think that's actually kind of unnecessary, and that's something that hurts this film. Another thing I want to talk about is, like I said, I praised the cinematography as a positive, and this film looks really good. That's also an example of what I don't like about modern movies. And when it comes to modern movies, a lot of times nowadays, it's just they look really good. Like, cinematographers have they're really great at their art now. Like, they just are. Camera work, cameramen, cinematographers, they know what they're doing. And there's a lot of great ones out there now. And like I said, this film looks fantastic, but the substance, the meat of the bones of the story doesn't really hold a candle to how this film looks. Like I said, this film looks like a 8.5 or 9 out of 10 type film, and story-wise and content-wise, it's not that kind of movie. So that's what kind of sucks. Like I said, this is the perfect example of one of those modern films that I think about. Like I said, it looks really great, and that wasn't a good sign either that I waited this long to rewatch it too. Rewatch value does play a factor, but this is, like I said, a prime example of a film nowadays that looks fantastic, but it's not really that good in terms of the content and the story. You know, it doesn't grip you or pull you in. And that's another thing too. I was highly invested and loved the performances by our young actresses, but in terms of my care for the parents and feeling any drama or anything like that, it didn't really pull me in that way. And I'm a parent, so I didn't really get emotionally invested in this film where I think I should have been. One other positive I want to mention too is that I think this film did go ballsy with actually killing one of the girls at the end. I know we've talked about spoiler alert already. I think the fact that they did kill one of the girls at the end, that is a ballsy move, and I respect that. The one thing I do hate about that though is that they kind of you know, let you know already. It was kind of already known. When you rewatch the film, it is kind of telephone or telegraphed that it's going to be that girl. You know what I mean? The story focuses a lot more on the story by, I believe it's Angela's character. It focuses a lot more on her father and her story and their struggles, and the White family and Catherine and her mom and her dad, they're kind of more in the background. You can just feel that. So it's like it's kind of telegraphed already. So by the time you get to the end, you already know it's most likely going to be her character that ends up dying. But like I said, it is a ballsy move. I respect it, but it is something that is kind of predictable when you watch the film. This is kind of a big bag of mixed. It did go down a little bit in the rating, I believe. I didn't watch my old review. I believe off the top of my memory, I think I gave it a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10 back in the day. And today we're going to talk about The Exorcist Believer's Radd rating. Right now, currently in 2025, my feelings on it, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's still an above average rating. This is still a film that is not deserving of all the hate that it gets. You know, this isn't a completely awful film, but it's not a great film. It's a totally forgettable film too as well. So there's a lot of stuff going against this movie. You know, like I said, it just really sucks that they kind of went this route. But who knows? We have Mike Flanagan, who's going to be doing a sequel to this film, and I believe it's going to be called Exorcist Deceiver. I'm not sure if they're keeping that title, but last I heard, that's what it was going to be called, and it's Mike Flanagan. And maybe he could pull out something out of his pocket and really save this franchise. Who knows? But these are just my thoughts, my opinions on The Exorcist Believer. Please let me know down below in the comment section, what are your thoughts on this film? I would love to discuss, but please also like the video. That helps out the channel greatly. Share if you like the content and have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video, because we have the ranking video coming up. That's some of my favorite ones to do, are ranking videos. But most importantly, you all know what's up. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.